So when should you accept a workers' compensation settlement offer, and what do you need to understand before accepting it? People always ask me, what should I do? What do you think? What should I do? Everybody's in a different circumstance. Everybody's position in life is different. Everybody's circumstances in life are different. It's hard for me to step into your shoes and tell you what you should do. I always tell people that I will do everything I can to answer every question, to address every possible situation and scenario that you might throw at me, but it's really your decision to make. So it's very difficult for me or any lawyer to say what you should affirmatively or should not affirmatively do. It's rare, it does happen, but it's rare that there is there's no absolutes, but there is a 99% yes or a 99% no, those home run cases. And it does happen. And I do, and that's the term I use when I see one of those. When there's a settlement offer or I've reached a point in negotiations where the number is the number, and I tell the person, this is a home run. Take this and be done, because you're not going to do any better. And it's rare, but that does happen. So and vice versa. So for the most part, you have to know your scenario, your situation, and ask questions that have to do with what you're really looking for. Some people, and I've said it before, we've had clients here who are in desperate need of medical attention, surgery. I mean, you could see it, and I'm not a doctor, but people need treatment and surgery, and they say, I'm not having surgery. I don't care. Get me as much money as possible, and let me be done with this. And I respect that. If that's what you're looking to do. Is this one running here? Yeah, we're good. If that's what you want, if you just want to maximize dollars and cents and be done, great. Tell me what you want, and I'll do it for you. And by the same token, I've had cases with clients who have relatively, and I'm saying relatively in the grand scheme of things, minor injuries, relatively light findings on MRIs, things that don't necessitate surgery. But they tell me, look, I don't care about the money. My health is the most important thing. And I want to be able to maximize how much medical treatment I get. And I want to be able to know that if there's ever an issue down the road where I need treatment or surgery, that my case is there for me. So I don't care about the money. And that's fine. You tell me what it is you're looking for, and I'll do what I can to get you what you want. And that's really the most important thing in reaching a decision on when you should and should not accept the settlement offer. Oh, thirsty today. Some factors that we consider here. Do you need the money right now? Listen, there is that semblance. There are those people out there that they have a family to provide for. They got to put food on the table, and all of the circumstances aside, that's their number one priority. So needing the money now is an important thing. And unfortunately, we're not, there's no legal funding that you could do through workers' compensation here in New York State, at least none that I've ever heard of or know of. So taking a loan out against your case is generally not an option. So it's a matter of, do you want to settle the case now because you need the money now? So that's a big factor. Another important factor to consider is, can you weather the storm of a long litigation, a long legal process? Yes, granted, the workers' compensation legal process is, comparatively speaking, abbreviated, shortened. The litigation of a workers' compensation case is much shorter and faster than a personal injury lawsuit or other types of legal matters, but it still takes time. It could take a year or 2 years or whatever. Are you able to weather that storm and hold out for what could be more money, or do you really just want to not have to go through that and take what you can get and be done? Another thing to consider is, are you comfortable with accepting the uncertainty of a trial and letting somebody else make a decision that's going to potentially have massive impacts on you and the rest of your life? You're leaving your case and your future in the hands of somebody else, a judge. And are you comfortable with that? Do you want to roll the dice? And again, as nice as it is to know the outcome that you're getting, whether or not it's the optimal outcome or you got the most that you'd ever thought you were going to get, it is nice to know what you're going to get when you settle a case. And as good as that is, I always tell clients, and I try to be as honest with them as possible, like those home run cases we just discussed. There are cases where the settlement is in that middle gray area, and I say, hey, I'm a lawyer. I love arguing. I love going to court. I love fighting these things out. If you tell me you want to fight it out, let's go fight it out. I have no problem rolling the dice if that's what you want me to do. So it really comes down to your personality, your life, your situation, and what you want to do. So I know what I could do for you. Is this? I don't know. So unfortunately, there we go. We're live now on Instagram. Instagram was contemplating whether it should go live, and now it's live. So hello, Instagram. You missed the first question, Instagram, but if you jump over on YouTube and we're all done here, you can find the answers to when should you accept a workers' compensation offer and what do you need to know before accepting it. We just addressed that. We didn't hit any questions yet, but I apologize. I am a technological doofus sometimes, and I thought I had got everything up and running, but it's all on YouTube, saved forever and ever for posterity. So check us out over there when we're done here. Moving right along. How do you know when you've negotiated the best workers' compensation settlement offer? And it's hard to say the best. How when you maximize it? Well, when the insurance company tells you this is our final bottom line maximum offer, you've kind of reached that point. And sometimes they BS you and they use that line without really meaning it. And sometimes you could see through them and you can get some more, but usually you're at the point where you're fighting over cents and not dollars, or you're fighting over small increments and not large increments. Generally speaking, when you sit down, you calculate the value of your case, or you and your lawyer. That's why you should have a lawyer, somebody like me, who can help you calculate the value of your case, considering all the factors of your case, all the relevant and important information is what we use to sit down and determine the value of your case. You get a ballpark estimate of what it is you're looking at, and depending on the specific type of case, the specific injuries, the overall status of the case, how much has been paid out on a particular case, depending on what type of case it is, you're able to come up with a ballpark offer, a ballpark estimate of what your case value should look like. Who's spamming? I'm getting I don't know if Aaron is yelling at me to stop spamming or somebody else. Let's be nice over there in the chat. But every case is different, and it's very difficult. I get questions all the time, whether they're questions live or questions in the comments on various videos about, hey, bro, I have a back case from 2018 and my left ear hurts, and do you think I can get 600 grand? Like, there's a lot of information that I need in order to determine what the value of a case is. First and foremost, where is that case being heard? What jurisdiction does it fall under? But as you know, I'm only licensed here in New York State. I only talk about New York State cases when I'm giving examples. But there's a lot of information, which is why it's so important to have a lawyer who knows your case and knows the law and knows where to find those values. We just had a client in here earlier who was telling me all about different aspects of his case, which he felt were important, which I'm not saying are unimportant. They're just not important in the realm of case value. My boss said this, and his supervisor came down and they yelled at me. Like, I get it, and it's important, and it's an emotional thing, and you want to do something about it. But in the world of the Workers' Compensation Board and the Workers' Compensation law, it doesn't add value to your case, and that's what we're really looking to do for you: get you the best value. Here, figuring out case value. Number one, in New York State, the most important thing you need to know: do you have a SLU, a scheduled loss of use case, or a non-scheduled case? We've talked about this every video. It comes up because it is probably the most important factor. Scheduled loss of use cases are the value of a scheduled loss case, an injury to an arm, a leg, a hand, a foot, a finger, or a toe. The value overall is based upon the overall residual permanent impairment that you suffer to that body part. Each one of those different body parts has a value. According to the state of New York, 100% loss of use of an arm gets you 312 weeks of workers' compensation benefits payable at the total rate for your date and your average weekly wage. What does all that mean? 2/3 of your gross average weekly wage based upon the date of your accident, because every year the maximum rate of workers' compensation and the minimum changes, and your average weekly wage. So how much were you earning gross? You might not the max rate might not be a factor. If you earn $600 a week, you're going to get $400 a week at a comp. Simple as that. I see some great questions coming in here. I'm going to make sure I get to all you guys. All that being said, one moment. A schedule loss of use case is based upon that value. So if you have a 10% disability to your arm, you get 31.2 weeks of benefits. 10% of the 312 is 31.2. And it's all payable at the maximum rate, 2/3 of your average weekly wage up to that statutory maximum. What do they do after that? They take credit for your prior payments, which is why we did a video not too long ago. And it's always been my hot talking point. You know, tell me one quick thing about workers' comp that I should know that I really don't know. Going back to work sooner is sometimes better than holding out. If you have a schedule loss of use case, the longer you're out of work and the longer you're getting workers' compensation for, it's the longer you're not being paid your salary because you're not working. And it's the longer that they are paying you workers' compensation benefits because you're not working. And it's more credit they're going to take at the end of your case. So if you've been out of work and they're paying you $100 a week for 10 weeks and your case is worth $25,000, well, you're only going to get $24,000 in the end because they've taken the credit for that $1,000. If you don't lose any time, well, those number of weeks that you now have gone back to work, you're getting full salary and there's no credit coming out. So you wind up doing better. Non-scheduled cases are handled completely different. A non-scheduled case, the value of that case is based upon your lost time, number one. You need to be out of work in order to expect benefits on a non-schedule, a head, neck, and back, a stroke, a heart attack, a psychological disability. You need to be out of work in order to get lost time benefits, temporary benefits, and you need to be out of work in order to get permanency benefits. And the value there is based upon your lost time, so you must be out of work, and the level of your disability while you're out. So the level of your temporary disability while you're out of work, and they're still determining whether or not you're permanent, and the level of your permanent disability once you are deemed to have a permanent injury. The nice thing is they don't take credit for prior payments on a non-scheduled case. The not so nice thing, those weekly benefits are not paid at the total rate. They're paid at a rate based upon your overall level of disability. So a lot of different factors here. And we get questioned. I mean, it's one of the most popular questions. Hey, man, I have an eye injury. What's it worth? Hey, I broke my leg in 2 places. Do you think I can get 200 grand? Like, there's so many different factors that it's impossible for me to answer those questions without knowing additional information. I'm very parched. I had a hockey game last night, so I got to hydrate. Okay, but how do you know when you've negotiated the best offer? Timing is also important. Like we said earlier, is the timing right for you? Is the timing right for the insurance company? You want to maximize, you want to hit that case when it has the most value. And sometimes that could be early on in the case, depending on the circumstances. Maybe you don't need big surgeries. Maybe it's the type of thing that it's going to cost the insurance company a lot of money in prolonged litigation. So maybe you do want to try to settle it out early, get the value of what you think your schedule loss might be a year or a year and a half down the road and close it out early. Give them the value of that quick closure and turn that into cash for you in a settlement. Maybe it's not settling it up front and early. Maybe you want to let this thing drag out and it's settling it just before the case goes to permanency, while there's still some uncertainty as to what your permanent disability level is going to be. Could be as high as this, could be as low as this, and maybe you could work something that works to your benefit to take advantage of that uncertainty and cash in on it. Some cases you want to wait until after permanency has been evaluated and ruled upon by a judge. Well, now you know you have hard numbers in front of you, and maybe there's other factors in your life which would make it reasonable and beneficial to settle your case after a permanency finding has been found by a judge or through an agreement. So timing is extremely important. And that's why you need to keep in contact with your lawyer, keep the communication open, talk to your lawyer, make sure they know what you're going through, make sure they know what your expectations are so they can try to get you what you want and what you need based upon your life and your circumstances. That's what we're here for. And if you need somebody, you can call me, 212-406-8989. There is my Self-promotion. What other things, factors help you know when you've negotiated the best offer? If you've gone through a prolonged back and forth negotiation with the insurance company, it's funny. There's some cases where it's like one phone call of, we're looking for this, we're doing this, boom, and it's done in seconds. And then I have other email chains here and note chains. We've demanded this, they offered this, we came back with this, they came back with this, we're here, they're there. And it's like a zigzag back and forth of the negotiations we've gone through. When they carry on that long, they can't go on forever. And you kind of know when there've been a couple offers, you can kind of see where they're narrowing to and what that endpoint's going to be. So that's something that could help you judge as to whether or not you've negotiated a very good offer on your case. And another big factor is whether your lawyer confirms. We know the law. We know how to apply the facts, the relevant facts. We know how to ignore the irrelevant facts to reach what we feel is a good offer for you in your case and your facts based upon the law. And that's why consulting with a lawyer is so important. A lot of good questions. Machine Ink is over on the gram. I see them all flowing in here on YouTube. We're going to hit one more slide, and I'm going to jump in and answer some questions, folks. Now, let me ask you this question. How do you know when to reject a settlement offer? And again, a lot of the same things we just discussed apply here too. How do you know when you've negotiated a good offer, and how do you know when it's a bad offer? Well, timing is equally as important to determine when an offer is bad. Maybe you're in the situation where you want to get the treatment, you need surgery. It's the type of case that should be carried out down a path for some time to get some answers and to get some benefits. And maybe an early settlement in that circumstance is not the right thing for you. Maybe you don't want to let the judge rule on permanent disability because you want to just you're planning on going back to work pretty soon anyway, and that's going to negate you out of everything. So maybe that timing is what's right or wrong for you. So timing is super, super important, and that's why it's important that your lawyer consider that when working a negotiation for a settlement in your case. Pressure tactics are something that insurance companies will sometimes use to push you to accept the settlement, and it might be a reason why you should reject the settlement. Holding off and denying treatments and denying surgeries and denying benefits and putting undue pressure, whether right or wrong, it's something that might be within their purview under the law. They can do things like that, and they sometimes use that as a tool. And then when they dangle a carrot of money in front of you, you're going to jump on it. So you got to be mindful of that, not just jump on it just because, hey, finally there's some money in front of me and I need it. If your circumstance permits for it, it might not be a great time to settle your case. Sometimes the settlement won't cover everything that you need. We were working on a settlement just the other day where a case was established, I'm pretty sure, for a back and a knee, and we were working at a settlement, and we're in the middle of getting an IME and further development of the record on additional sites of injury. And I said to the insurance company, hey, this is what we're looking for. Rather than litigate whether all these 5 other sites are related, why don't we just settle this case? My client's interested in exploring settlement options. Let's settle the case. And their response is, the case is only established for a back and a knee right now. We don't give a hoot about the other injuries, and we're not going to give you money for it. Well, if your settlement is not considering these factors, which might cause you a lot of money, well, maybe it's not the right time to settle the case then. Maybe we need to keep pushing you and litigate and get these additional sites brought in so you could see where the value truly lies, as I do, the crystal ball holding attorney. Like we said before, maximum medical improvement. Sometimes it's the right time to settle before permanency or maximum medical improvement has been found. Sometimes the right time is after. It really depends on each case. Another red flag when you should reject an offer. I'm not saying it's a hard truth, but if you're unrepresented, a lot of times they try to take advantage and think that they try to make you feel like they're your friend and they're on your side and they're offering you money. And I can't say it happens all the time or a lot of times. I'd say once or twice or 3 times a year, we'll get somebody that comes in with a case that's 8 months old or 10 months old or something, or, not a new case, but not an antique either. And they say, hey, I kind of did all my treatment and they're offering me 20 grand. Should I take it? And when I actually sit down and go through the factors here and look at the case and look at the medical and what I think, no, your case is worth a lot more than that. And there have been times where I get people. There's one client who left a review on our website, I believe, or a Google review. She came in. She's like, they offered me whatever it was, 20 grand, 15 grand. I forget the numbers. It was a while ago. And I'm like, no, your case is worth double. And we got her double the money because it was just as simple as that. So it's, you need to have a lawyer look at your case. That's what we do. That's what we get paid for. That's what we're happy to do. And let us help you. I got her double the money. I paid for my fee and then some. It was a win-win for everybody. And with that, folks, I'm done with my slides. We're going to get into some questions. So I see some arguing here going on about who's spamming who to get their questions heard first. I don't even know how this stuff works. I'm going to get to the stuff first that I want to get to, like Mr. Marte saying, let's go Mets. If you remove your trial date from the calendar due to surgery, could this affect your case or not? So here in New York State, you really can't remove when you're 99% of the time when a trial or a hearing is set, it's done. It's going to happen. If you're having surgery that day, make sure your lawyer knows so he can go in there and say, Judge, my client is not available for his hearing because he's having surgery. If it's on for testimony, well, they're going to have to reschedule the testimony because you better go get your surgery if it's time for that. Could it affect your case or not? It shouldn't. Your hearing's still going to happen. The parties are still going to try to do what they can do to move your case along, to address issues, to get things done. Rescheduling your surgery should not be something that you do. Sorry. Can you get a settlement after you settle a third-party settlement? So we discussed third-party settlements last week. This is a great question. Yes. So it's super technical. It's one of those things that cause my bald spots to get bigger. Burns. When you settle your third-party case, okay, when you settle your lawsuit, your third-party attorney has to get consent from the workers' compensation insurance carrier to settle that case. Why? Because the workers' compensation carrier has a vested interest in that case. Why? Because under the law, they're allowed to get their money back from that case. Any money that they've paid out on your workers' compensation case, they have a right to a lien recovery, which is reduced based upon a lot of different factors. Depending on how that consent is negotiated, when your third-party lawyer goes to the workers' comp carrier to get consent, depending on how that consent is negotiated, you might be entitled to a contribution moving forward. What does all this mean? If workers' compensation is still on the hook to pay you and you settle your third-party case, they have a right to take a credit for whatever money you have moving forward. So whatever money you've netted, whatever money you've put in your pocket from that third-party case, workers' compensation can take a credit against that moving forward. So if you put $100,000 in your pocket from your settlement, workers' comp can say, well, we're off the hook for the next $100,000 worth of future benefits, whether it's medical or indemnity, money to you. But there's another way to settle that case. If your third-party attorney negotiates a Burns contribution, a Burns settlement, a Kelly the terms are, it's what baffles you. They might be required to continue to contribute to your payments, just not in full. And there's a lot of confusion in math, and you really need to sit down and do numbers to figure all this out, and it'll make your head spin if I try to explain it to you now. But what it comes down to is this. If let's just say workers' compensation has been paying you a continuing payment of $300 per week into the future, and you settle your third party, and they settle it in a way that workers' compensation might still have to contribute to your benefits, that benefit might now be $100 a week. It's a reduced benefit because they're still taking credit. That other $200 is their credit getting worked off. Can you settle? Yeah, you could settle. You could say, hey, you owe me $100 a week right now for, let's estimate the weeks, and this is what the money is, and let's settle based upon that number. And maybe that credit's going to run out sooner, and the full benefits are going to go back up. Let's use those numbers. So to answer the question quickly and easily, Is it possible? Yes. Does it happen in every circumstance? No, it does not. But it is certainly possible. It's certainly worth looking into. Great question. We do experience this pretty regularly. What we also try to do sometimes is when that third party case is settling, and if we can, this is why it's important to have a workers' comp lawyer and a personal injury lawsuit attorney, negligence attorney that know each other and work well together. Because sometimes when that third party case is getting ready to settle, you could get the comp attorney on the phone and say, hey, look, there's going to be a big credit here moving forward. The person's not going to be seeing benefits for us. Let's figure out the best way to do a global settlement. Let's settle the workers' comp, the third party, settle everything, be done with it, and let you move on and ride off into the sunset. So there's a lot of different ways to get creative and settle out these cases. And yes, it can happen after a third party case is settled. God's child, fantastic question. Thank you very much. There's one question on Instagram here. Hi, Rex. My workers' comp and third party. How can I maximize my case with or without surgery? And if I'm entitled to future earnings based on Section 32 laws, please educate me. So it's, I disclaimer, I didn't look at this question before I answered the one before, but that's really what it comes down to. You need to get your third party attorney, your comp attorney on the same page if they're not already, so that they can work and figure out a way to settle your case to maximize what you're going to get. And it doesn't always work out. The numbers don't always work in such a way, but you want everyone to be on board with how each case is going, so they can at least work towards a common goal. And you are maximizing your money as that common goal. So I hope that answers your question. There's a lot of very confusing factors here, and it's so hard to give an easy generalized example there. You really need to sit down with pen and paper and numbers and say, all right, let's figure out the numbers here. It's $1 million settlement. This is what's been paid out, da, 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 da. And then you could really kind of illustrate how that works. Pardon me. I am so thirsty. We have Passion to Travel here saying, hi, second IME appointment. What can you expect after a court hearing? What happened at the IME? Did the doctor find that your injury has improved and your level of disability has gone down? Has the doctor found that your level of disability has stayed the same? Has the doctor found that your level of disability has worsened, or you just had surgery? It's really hard to say what you can expect. You can expect if the IME's disability rating has fluctuated since the last IME and differs from your doctor, that your rate is going to be tinkered with to some degree. If permanency was found, they might direct you to produce your own permanency report. Need to know what that IME is going to say to know what to expect after a court hearing. But if you had an IME and now you're having a court hearing, it's probably because the insurance company who ordered the IME got a result that's in their favor. I give thumbs up, so now Instagram's giving me thumbs up. Yeah. But if you had an IME and now you're going back to court, it's probably because something happened at that IME and in that report that the insurance companies are trying to take advantage of, which is why a hearing was requested, which is why you're going back to court. Unless, of course, it was in your benefit and your lawyer asked for it, but those are rare. Good question, though. Richie Chop. 4 months from level 3 neck fusion. 2 of my doctors said I can't go back to work. They just notified my lawyer, and they are cutting my checks by 50%. 38 years old, outside heavy construction. 38 years of outside heavy construction, 59 years old. Got it. Well, again, this kind of goes hand in hand with what we just discussed with the last question. What does their IME say, and why are they trying to cut you? It really depends on what they're... It stinks, especially in construction cases, because a lot of people are like you. They didn't go to college. I'm not saying you did or you didn't. I don't know you, Richie Chop. Don't chop me. But, my uncle, construction guy, didn't go to college, young guy, got a job in construction, did it his whole life. That's all that he knows how to do. And now you go and get hurt, and all of a sudden they're saying, well, you have a 50% disability. What do you mean I have a 50% disability? I can't go back to construction. No, but you could do a sedentary job. Well, my Sicilian uncle is not going to go answer the phone in a doctor's office. It's never going to happen. But they expect, that's how the law is written. When the doctor assesses your disability, it's your disability from any and all jobs in New York State, not just your job doing heavy construction. You're probably 100% disabled from heavy construction work, and you will be for the rest of your life, but it doesn't mean you can't do something else somewhere. So the law is going to cut your benefits because presumably you could do a sedentary job. You could punch up a cash register sitting down. And do I agree with it? I get it. I understand it. I mean, listen, we can all get pissed off about it and say this is bullshit and da 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 da. We get it. We understand why the law is written that way, but it doesn't always translate to reality. And the problem is, the law is there to cover everybody in New York State, Sicilian construction construction workers and attorneys. And it's there for everybody. And it's hard to have one blanket law that equally and fairly covers everybody and handles these scenarios and these situations. It's never going to happen. I get why the law is written that way. I understand it. It just sucks from time to time, especially for guys like you who've been doing construction work for the last 40 years of their life since they're 20 years old. And now what? I gotta get half of 2/3 of my money. I have a mortgage. I have kids in college. I get it. It sucks. Listen, you need to have a lawyer on your side. You need to have somebody you could talk to and get an understanding of your situation, so at least you can understand what you need to do for yourself moving forward, with the understanding that you're never going to be satisfied with what workers' compensation gives you, but at least you can try to maximize it and have a better understanding of what's to come. Richie, I feel for you. A neck fusion, I feel for you. But talk to your lawyer, ask him questions, get an understanding of what the process looks like, so you have your expectations are something that you understand. I'm out of water. Pardon me. I got a rubber band. Alert the media, please. So Lucky Trey. The insurance company asked, was I willing to settle? We told them yes. We sent out a demand offer, and they haven't responded, and it's been 2 months. Catherine's going to love this one, because this happens to us all the time. You want to know what Lucky Trey just said? The insurance company asked if he was willing to settle, and we told him yes, and we sent the demand, and they haven't responded in 2 months. Sounds correct. It happens a lot. And there are certain insurance companies where you'll get an email, hey, please let us know if your client's interested in settling their case. And we have a letter we call the settlement interest letter that we send to our clients. Dear client, the insurance company wants to know if you have an interest in settling your case. Please call us back. Let us know if you're interested. Let us know if you're on Social Security disability. Let us know a couple different things, and we'll work and we'll talk to them. I always try to pull demand out of them first. It's very rare that they give me a demand. I try to pull an offer out of them first. It's rare that happens. They usually want a demand, but whatever. We start the negotiation one way or another. And there's what? And Kat's saying be a pest. She is our assigned pest in the office. Because sometimes we'll go ahead and we'll forward a demand to settle. Hey, my client is interested in settling the case. And hey, we looked at the case and we're demanding $100,000. And next thing you know, nothing. We get no answers here. And Catherine's saying be a pest. Catherine puts these in her little diary, and once a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, depending on how pissed off she is about being ignored, she bugs them and asks questions. Hey, you wanted demand. We gave you demand. How about you give us an answer? How about you be professional and responsible and act in good faith? And you don't always get that. It makes you want to bash your head up against the wall sometimes, because I think they do it in certain circumstances just to get a position of what the baseline of their exposure is going to be, so they can operate moving forward. It's a shit move, and they do it, and I don't like it. But it is what it is. Lucky Trey, good question. Are there circumstances that a New York City civil service worker will not be terminated after 2 years on workers' compensation? So this gets a little bit outside the scope of your workers' compensation claim, and gets into what your union benefits are and the deal they have with the city. And I don't really know the answer to that question. You're better off asking your union or perhaps our labor law attorney here in New York City. But I know that certain employers, the city, and certain agencies and things like that do have some sort of a policy where after 2 years of not being back at work, they terminate you, and it sucks. And it could be worse. There are some employers that once you're out, they replace you, and that's it. You're essentially effectively terminated immediately. It happens. Truth Seeker, Quick question, Rex. I'm having lumbar back surgery in April. Truth Seeker always has good questions for us, so thank you for returning. So you're having lumbar back surgery in April. It's pre-existing. How often does the eggshell rules come into place? My doctor said it will worsen by the work fall. The eggshell skull rule, the thin skull rule. Look it up. Google it. It's an interesting case. You assume you take your victims as you find them. Eggshell skull rule. So if you have a pre-existing condition, yeah, it's going to factor in no matter what. Apportionment is going to become an issue here at some point down the road. If you have a pre-existing condition and you make it worse with a work accident, clearly the insurance company is going to say, wow, you had this horrible pre-existing condition and you were already in bad shape. Your work accident, if it made it worse, it was minimal. It's all due to your pre-existing condition. Well, the eggshell skull rule is that maybe I had a pre-existing condition, but guess what? It never impacted my ability to work, or the impact was minimal. I was working at full duty, full capability, moving right along with my life, and your relatively minor, if it was, accident caused this huge worsening in my pre-existing condition, which makes me unable to work now. Either way, the doctor's going to get called in for apportionment, and that argument is going to go back and forth, and you're going to land somewhere in the middle there. It stinks to have a worsening in your pre-existing condition, but if you think about it, that's the nature of how things go. That's the weak link, and you know, if you have a bad back already and you fall down, you're probably going to F up your back again because it's already bad. So it's called being human. Called being human. I have a bad back and it kills me all the time. Lucky Trey, the insurance company asked, was I willing to settle? That's the same question we got. That's why you got yelled at before by somebody else. But I hope I answered your question, Lucky Trey. It's a great question, and I wish you the best. Ida, I just got awarded my SSDI, Social Security Disability, and deemed disabled by the SSA. I received my first settlement offer from the insurance company, refused. Now being sent for an IME, still waiting for surgery approval. Thank you, Rex. So we talked about this briefly last week. And again, this is chatter. This is rumor. This is speculation. This is nothing hard and fast just yet. But currently, the Workers' Compensation Board here in New York State is not bound by the authority of the Social Security Administration. Social Security Administration, federal. Workers' Compensation Board, state. Apples, oranges, balls and strikes, cats and dogs. But there is some talk that maybe some changes to the law might happen where the Workers' Compensation Board might become bound or constrained by findings from the Social Security Administration to some degree. And that is, if the Social Security Administration finds you disabled and eligible for Social Security disability benefits, that could equate to the finding of a total disability under the workers' compensation law. And I think it's a fantastic idea. It would make litigation easier. It would make case management easier. It would make the judges' lives easier. You wouldn't have to sit here and fight on cases where is the person partial, is the person total? Do they have to do a work search? What if Social Security found them unable to work? They're unable to work. It's a pretty simple equation right there, and I think that we should go with that. Talk to your congressman. I'm not kidding about this either. Literally, call your congressman. Go online and find out who's the congressman in your district and call up and say, I've heard this, and this is a fantastic idea. I think we should make it the law. Sponsor a bill. Make yourself famous. Get this done. All the injured workers of the state of New York will love you for it. They'll throw you a party. So it's a great idea. Now, does that answer your question? Probably not. The insurance company, you got your first settlement from the insurance company. If you refused it, now you're being sent for an IME and you're waiting for surgery. If you're waiting for surgery, settlement is, and again, I don't know you, Ida Erzagoni, and I don't know your case, and I don't know the specifics. I would need to really talk to you to get an understanding. But most of the time, when a person's pending surgery, an approval for surgery, settlement's not always a great option. You want to get your big stuff out of the way. You want to get some recovery from it so you know what you're dealing with moving forward for the rest of your life before you settle and close out that case. God forbid you get an infection. I always use the infection, but it happens. You go and have a surgery. You have a knee replacement surgery. You could get MRSA, and now you're back in the hospital getting all sorts of crazy treatments and surgeries and getting everything removed. If you settled your case, you got to pay for all that. And that sucks because your settlement just is going to go away in a second. Get that stuff taken care of. Get better to the point where at least you can see the light at the end of the tunnel and then settle your case. Lucky Trey with the same question. Stop spamming, bro. He doesn't magically get to you faster. You guys are funny. I love it. I got a question here on IG. Hey, Rex, I had a 70-pound table fall on my head at work from a second story. Holy shit. Show how to get H staples in my head. Now I have neck back, getting an MRI next week. What's the settlement if something's wrong? I don't know what you're asking me. What's the settlement if something's wrong? It depends on how wrong it is. Depends on. So, like we said at the start, is this a schedule law? Reset. This is a non-schedule type case, head and neck injury. It really is based upon your lost time, the extent of your disability while you're out, permanency. Is there a permanent injury? And this is going to put you out of work in the long term. So a lot of factors. I also need to know your salary to tell you what we'd be looking at for surgery there. But 70-pound table from 2 stories, and you're texting me, you're a lucky man. God's child, can you get continued treatment and or a settlement after receiving a third-party settlement? Yes, this is the question we answered earlier. In certain circumstances, you can. My third-party lawyer said it might be the best time to settle, but I don't want to ruin my workers' compensation. Talk to both lawyers. It's sometimes there's a butting of the heads between your comp attorney and your third-party attorney, and it shouldn't be. They should try to work in unison, like a symphony of lawyers. Imagine, put that visual in your head. But that's what should be happening. So they try to get you the best they can get for you. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So it's hard for me to say, but you want to get both your lawyers on the same page. Tell them both you want a conference call. Nothing wrong with that. I've done it 100 times. Gabriel, I've been paid over the last 2 years and reached my TTD, temporary total disability benefits max, according to the insurance company. I just had surgery and going through the process of rehabbing. Am I eligible for a settlement? Is this a New York State case? Doesn't sound like it. There is no max of temporary disability benefit, temporary total disability benefits in New York State, unless it is, and the insurance company has their own little internal cap that they put on cases, which I don't really give two things about because it's not the law. But if that's a real thing, it doesn't sound like a New York State case. But are you eligible for a settlement? Settlements are voluntary actions by the parties in a case. Are you eligible for a settlement? Anybody's eligible for a settlement. You could always start negotiating. What's the worst that'll happen? They tell you, no, we don't want to settle. But you need 2 to tango on a settlement. So, as long as both sides, both parties come to the table with the intent on making a deal, then you make your deal. God's child forgot to mention something. Multiple body parts, neck, shoulders, wrists, back, and knees. What was your question before? That you were talking about your settlement after a third-party settlement. Yeah, it doesn't change my answer. It's possible. And you want to talk to your lawyers and get the answer to that question. Sorry that I'm adjusting my microphone while I'm trying to talk. Lucky Trey, you got me on the Control V. Stop hitting the Control and the V. I'm kidding. What can I expect? Thanks, Rex. So that was Ida. Ida's the one who got SSDI before. But again, if you have surgery pending, go and get your surgery and get better a little bit and get some understanding of what your life's going to look like moving down the road. You guys are funny. I answered Lucky Trey's question. Don't worry. Leave him be. Poor guy's hurt. Hey, Rex. So this is Stephanie's Kitchen. I finally settled my case with New York City Law Department. I want to thank you because I got more information from you than I did my own lawyer. You told me about patience and how to be patient. How to be reasonable. New York City Law Department is tough to deal with. Yes, they are. They tried to take my vacation days back just to prolong the case. I wish I would have had you as my lawyer in the first place. Thank you. The law department, listen, they're good people that work over there. I feel like they're understaffed, so the good people that they have working there are worked to the bone, and they're trying to just get through their caseloads. I get it. It's tough. It's a tough job working for the city. But it's just a difficult process to deal with. They're tough to get on the phone. It's tough to get an adjuster on the phone to just work out minor issues. They generally don't Section 32 cases. It's just, but I'm happy, Stephanie, that you're happy. And of course, the next question from Felix is, can you ask as part of your settlement for New York City Law Department to agree for NICES to allow you to retire? Sometimes they want you to retire. Sometimes it's a condition of settlement. Talk to your lawyer. Again, this is why you go to your lawyer, put your cards on the table for your lawyer, spill your guts, let them know what it is you're looking for. Hey, I had enough of this job. Let's work out a settlement. And again, the law department doesn't really settle cases like a Section 32 settlement, like a big money, dollars and cents over and done settlement usually. But hey, let's work something out here. This is more, you got to talk to your lawyer. You got to let your lawyer understand what it is you're looking for so they can try to help you. Jose, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I have a question. I know you do. Why do they want to do a deposition of my doctor? They want to get your doctor's opinion. No, strike that. They want to cross-examine your doctor so they can make his opinion look bad. That's why. And that's why we cross-examine the IME. In New York State, under the workers' compensation law, you don't have the right to, this is going to get lawyerish, you don't have the right to examine your doctor. You don't have the right to take your doctor's testimony. Your doctor's reports are his testimony. Your doctor's reports are his testimony. You have the right of cross-examination. So sometimes in certain circumstances, we'll have a case where schedule loss of use. Your doctor goes and finds you have a 10% schedule loss of use to a shoulder, and we submit the report, and it gets to the board, and the board tells the insurance company, go get an IME if you want to get an IME. It's time. You have 75 days to get an IME, and the carrier misses the boat, and the judge will turn around and say, you missed the boat. You didn't get an IME. You are precluded from getting an IME. What does the insurance company do 99% of the time when that happens? They say, okay, fine, judge. Note my exception to precluding my doctor, but we do want to cross-examine the claimant's doctor, and we want to pick apart his reports and his opinions. So that's why they're questioning your doctor, to pick apart their reports, make them look bad, and that's why we want to cross-examine their doctor. That's exactly why that happens. You have the right to examine the opposing doctor and his opinion and try to do the best for you in your case. What are the reasons for deposition? Yes, that's the question we just. Okay. Alita Francis, I'm on workers' comp, had an accident which resulted in cauda equina syndrome and spinal surgery. Mediation is next. Question is, do you think this mediation will result in settlement talks in Massachusetts? Sorry for the choppy questions, and all good. I don't know. You're in Massachusetts. I don't know Massachusetts law. When was your surgery? What type of treatments do you are things to keep in mind? Are you looking at any significant treatment down the road? Is there a third-party case here? There's a lot of different factors you need to talk to your lawyer about. Do you have a lawyer? Number one question. If not, if you need help finding somebody, we have friends. I believe we have an attorney that we work with in Massachusetts. I'm just trying to remember. Yeah, whatever. Call me. We can always try to help you find resources to help you out. And don't worry about the choppy message. Sorry about the choppy answers I'm giving. Easy go. These guys are just a bunch of easygoing guys, and that's why we like dealing with them. The doctor released him. How long will it take to get the final report? That was about 2 weeks ago, and I'm still not able to work at all. Pain management, I'm doing nerve blocks in my spine. What should I expect? Well, if your doctor's releasing you to return to work, or is he releasing you from treatment? Has he found MMI, maximum medical improvement? What exactly are we looking at here? I need more information, but it sounds like you're in the home stretch. the path to permanency, the path to finality, maybe the path to settlement. So do you have a lawyer? Easy. We're easygoing lawyers. If you need help, you give me a call, 212-406-8989. Richie Chop has a phone conference with his lawyer next week. Good. Ask the questions. Guys, I live and die by these stupid little yellow pads. And or you have the Notes app in your, I mean, I know the iPhone has the Notes app. When you're sitting there watching Friends reruns and a question pops in your head, at 8 p.m. on a Sunday, write it down and call your lawyer. Put a list of questions together. Have that discussion. People call me all the time. They're like, I had a question for you. Great. What's your question? I don't remember. So why the hell are you calling me? Write them down. If you're going to see your lawyer next week, you have a week to make some preparations so you could talk to your lawyer about the things you want to talk about, and don't let it slip your mind. Put notes in your phone, put notes on a piece of paper, and go and talk to them. Maybe I'm a nerd. Maybe this is, but like every time I go to see my doctor, my eye doctor, because I just had this crazy surgery, I literally show up in their office with a Post-it note folded in like 16ths. And the doctor's like, okay, anything else? And I sit there and I unravel the stupid thing. And I'm like, yeah, hold on. I have a couple quick questions. That's how I do it. And you know what? I always get my questions answered. So try it. Be a nerd like me. We're cool too. A couple more questions here. You guys always, man, you come in strong at the end, and I love it. But I'm running out of gas. As always, folks, if you like what you're hearing, if I'm helping you, hit the like button. I love when you hit the like button. If I could like you hitting the like button, I'd like that. Subscribe. I'm here to help. If you need anything, you can always call 212-406-8989. Questions, concerns. If you need help finding an attorney in another state, we can help you track people down. We're getting tons of calls, helping people. People come in with new cases. People coming in with questions. People have just concerns about the system. They just need some clarification. I'm here to help you. I can't help everybody. And I know people understand it. And it's people will call with questions sometimes or with concerns or issues, and I'll say I just can't help you for whatever reason, for whatever issue. And people get it, and it makes me feel good that they understand. I can't, but if I can, I will, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you guys out. Hiral Shamsundar. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. I did 2 ACDF surgeries and 1 laminectomy surgery in 3 years. My last surgery is 2 months ago. Can my lawyer settle now? I have a hearing March 3rd. It might be a little soon, but you could certainly start the negotiation process. Maybe you're feeling great and your doctor's saying, hey, you only have a little bit of physical therapy left. Maybe. Talk to your doctor, talk to your lawyer. Make sure it's not too premature, but it's certainly a consideration. I was injured at work and I still have symptoms. And what do I need to do? I have dizziness and headache. And as well, I'm on doctor prescribed medication. Please reply to me. Okay. You still have symptoms, and what do I need to do? So you have a head injury with dizziness. How long ago was your injury? It doesn't say. Make sure you're seeing a neurologist. Make sure you're getting that taken care of. A head injury is certainly not anything to mess with. You see your doctor, follow your doctor's instructions. Make sure that you have a clear path, treatment regimen, and that you're on the road to recovery. Don't mess with head injuries. Make sure you have a lawyer too, especially if you're losing time from work. Sorry, head injuries are terrible. HHH. Hunter Hurst Hemsley has told his doctor the therapy works, but he won't let me continue because he said it's not fixing my problem. I told him that it helps with my pain. How can I force him to give me more? He can't. Here in New York State, the Workers' Compensation Board medical treatment guidelines only allow for so much physical therapy. And maybe it'll help. If it's helping with pain, the goal is to help alleviate pain in almost like in a tiered level. They want to get you better. If it's helping with your pain, and then by the time you have your next visit, you're back at 100% pain, and it helps. Well, is it really helping with pain? It's giving you temporary relief. Maybe you could talk to your doctor about what type of activities the physical therapist is doing, maybe you could do some of those at home to give you that temporary relief as needed. The board, listen, there's cases where people have been on physical therapy, excuse me, for very long times, but generally speaking, the Workers' Compensation Board medical treatment guidelines don't authorize super prolonged. It's like 18 visits, 20 visits, 10 visits. It's not 5 years of visits. So you talk to your doctor, though, and let him understand the relief you're getting from physical therapy. Is it temporary? Is it permanent? It'll get him a better understanding of maybe a different course of action to go forward with your case. So good question. IME doctor who got my check cut in half is a hack. Never got it from his chair, asked me to look left, look right, and said, we're done. And the report, yeah. Well, 15 pages of lies and tests and results he never did. So what am I going to tell you? I'm going to tell you what I've told people on videos and clients alike. When you get an IME report in, I always tell people, and you don't have to make the photocopy, but I always tell them, make a photocopy, so you have a nice clean copy for yourself. Make a copy and go through it line by line. And every place you see something that catches you as being whatever, wrong, questionable, I asked him to heel and toe walk around the room. He walks on heels and toes without restrictions. If the doctor never asked you to walk on your heels and your toes, write that in the margin. He never asked me to do this. I never got off the table. Write that in there. Range of motion was checked using a goniometer. A goniometer is a little protractor to measure angles. If the doctor never took out a little device to measure the angles of your different range of motions, write that down. We need to know about that, because if we're ever going to cross-examine these doctors, more information about the exam is better. Keep track of the time that you go in and go out too, because they're supposed to do the same thing. I like to make sure that they're correct. Cigna's got the best word of all here. Let's go Mets. Hit the like button. It's free, just like the advice. Thank you. Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. All right. Sorry. How are hernia cases handled? Hernia cases are not handled as well as you like. They're generally very small cases. I forget what the number is. You get a max of 8 weeks of lost time. Go get your surgery, get better, get back to work as soon as possible. Hernia cases are minimal here in New York State, and I'm not trying to downplay a hernia case. It's a big deal. They're going, it's a surgery, but they don't. I forget what it is. I haven't handled one in a while. I believe it might be 8 weeks, a max of 8 weeks of lost time. I'll have to look it up. I'll get back to you on that one, Tony. See, didn't we just talk about this? What is the average settlement for L5-S1 fusion, L4-5 nerve damage? There's so many other factors I need to know. If you're working, if you have a week of lost time following your surgery, and otherwise you've never lost a day from work, the settlement is pretty low. If you're never going back to work, if you're permanently, totally disabled, your settlement's probably pretty good. So I need a lot more information to answer that question, but get better, please. Unapologetically Aboriginal. Wow, that's a name. If your benefits 2-year period is coming to an end and your injuries are permanent, can you receive an extension? It depends on if you've been deemed permanent. A lot of factors we need to know here. What are the injuries? Where are you with your case? Has permanency been addressed? Things like that. So I need more information. Again, Gustavo, broken right rib, 7, 9, 10, and 12. Fractured spinal fracture, non-operative, benign, L1, L4. Lumbar. Gustavo, you're a mess, my friend. I don't see your question. I just see you telling me all the problems with your body. Go to the doctor. I hope this didn't just happen. I hope you're getting better, my friend. All right, just one or two more. I am out of fuel, as they say. Sonny's been hanging out, waiting patiently, and he gave me all the information. Rex, I have a fractured calcaneus, a foot. Calcaneus, your heel bone, Out for 6 months. Back to work in February 2024. October. Back to work February, October. Workers' comp sent me something like $1,700, and after it, no news. Who should send me to the doctor for permanency damage and when? The guidelines say it's a year from your date of accident or your date of surgery if you do have surgery. So you should be getting to that point pretty soon. But usually the guidelines give it a year. That's really the answer to your question is 1 year. Talk to your lawyer. If you don't have a lawyer and you need help, give me a call. 212-406-8989. But it's usually about a year. Is that a normal process? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sigh. There's the line of the day. Here's a good question from God's child. You're not being a pain. Sorry to be a pain. You're not being a pain. Can a unrelated surgery affect my workers' compensation disability rating? Great question. That's going to be. I'm going to give you the gold star, and this is going to be I'm going to close with this one today. Yes and no. So, will an unrelated surgery, an unrelated surgery brings us to the next level. Unrelated medical condition. If you have unrelated medical conditions, does that have an impact on your disability rating? It doesn't impact the finding of your disability, which is directly related to your injury and your accident, whether it's direct or consequential. Those injuries are going to quantify or be the basis of a determination for your permanent disability. But after that, on non-scheduled cases, if you're still out of work and they're moving down that road, they're going to take your vocational testimony. They're going to make you fill out a form. It's called a VDF-1 form, where they ask you vocational questions. What's your highest level of education? Do you have any special training? Did you serve in the military? Please list your last 10 years of work history. Do you read, write, and speak English well? They're going to ask you about your vocational background. And that could be a factor vocationally. If you have I don't want to say. I'm trying to think of an example that doesn't rhyme with answer. If you have unrelated medical conditions that impact your ability to work, I guess it's just, the example that keeps popping into my brain is people who are on who have cancer, who have I'm drawing a blank. It's late. Who are getting their treatments and they can't find work. They can't work because overall they're totally disabled. It does become a factor at that point in time. So if you have a surgery which disables you, an unrelated surgery which disables you for an unrelated condition, or whatever it might be, it could have an impact on your overall chemotherapy is the word I'm looking for, by the way. It could have an overall impact on your level of permanent disability. So it does potentially factor in. Folks, with that, thank you. I have I'm tired. It's been a long day here, but if you guys have other questions and you want to call me, please call me. 212-406-8989. I see Berserk has a question about a New Jersey case. If you need help in New Jersey, Berserk, call me. I have a good friend that works and does New Jersey workers' comp, and he's a kick-ass guy, and he does well. There's Berserk again from New Jersey. We work closely with our New Jersey friends. If you guys have questions and need help with a New Jersey claim, you can call us. We'll set you up over there. Let's go Mets. Like the advice, and I thank you guys. Next week, I've gotten into the habit of checking my calendar with you here, so I'll do that now. Next, we're going to shoot for next Thursday, folks. Next Wednesday, I'm doing a charity event. So I'm going to be out of the office. We do a charity event for the Garden of Dreams. Band of Parents is the name of the charity. It's a charity that raises money to help fight neuroblastoma. It's a childhood cancer. It's the worst effing thing on earth. And we do what we can to eradicate this horrible disease. and that's next Wednesday. So I will be out that day. But next Thursday, I have a day of depositions, and we are going to slot you guys in for, I don't know what you say here, Si. You want to do 3:30? You want to do 4 o'clock? Next Thursday, we're going to get back together and chat it up some more. God's child, cancer sucks. Yes. So let's go out there and kick cancer's ass. And until then, we'll talk next Thursday, folks. Thank you. Be safe. Thanks for the great questions. Thanks for the great contributions. You guys always pick me up when I'm running out of stuff to talk about. You ask these great questions, and you really carry me. And I appreciate every single one of you. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Be safe, and we'll talk next week. Thank you.